Okay, we're off and running. It is July 2nd, belated Canada Day to my fellow Canadians and Americans. You have yours right around the corner, right? For what it's worth in 2020. Interesting times. Yeah, we didn't have our usual fireworks in the harbor this year, so it's got to be a first for a long time. Christina Merkley, I am. This is the process pop-ups. This is going into our 13th one. I have been running them as a public service as the pandemic hit, and then everything that's been unfolding for 2020, and probably will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. I'm just going to flash a quick little meeting startup map, because each time we come, there's different people who come. And as a facilitator, just wanting to help orient people to what's going on and create our container. Now, Pat, tell me, is that coming up okay?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I see it.
Okay, great. I feel a little off my norm for some reason. So the outcomes, the desired outcomes here is really to just provide support during these times up here in the desired outcome section, top left. Inner work assistance. I'm a firm believer that it's a revolutionary act to do our inner work. So thank you for coming. I think we're all connected too. So when an individual does their work, it affects the larger whole. Providing a ongoing online community. It's a continuity, a through line is what I'm trying to do here. Ideally, you're going to get some shifts personally or professionally, whatever it is that you're working with, and again at the individual, group, and collective level. And ideally it's about growth. Me too. I am grown tremendously through the process of having the privilege and honor to hold these, and hopefully that's what's going on in here for people who come, whether you've come repeatedly or this is your first time. And me and all of us, we're work in progress here, we're unfolding. This agenda is emergent, is co-creative, it's different every time. If you've been able to attend before, if you've watched the recordings, it's an emergent process. It comes out of who comes and what's up for them, and somehow we find our way. I have a whole suite of visual tools and other techniques that I use, so depending on what presents itself, I try to match and go with what I think makes sense. Sometimes I do that well, sometimes I probably don't. So anyway, I do my best here. Pat will put a link into the chat. We use the chat quite a bit here, so just to alert you to the chat function. And she'll put in there the page where you originally signed up for this, the process pop-up page on my site. There are a whack of visual tools that are on that. So depending on what we do today, I'll probably be pulling up a map. And if you want to work alongside with that same map yourself, either printing it off and working with analog materials or plunking it into a tablet and working digitally, by all means, you're welcome to do that. And you'll find the tools shared. Sometimes I use tools that aren't shared, but for the most part, I have been using ones that are shared. I have over 40 tools. Roles, we're all co-creators here, myself included, but as the host, I'm the facilitator and holding the container and have a suite of my tools to pull from. I also bring some other things. I have activated Kundalini energy. I have some mediumistic abilities that pop up at times. So depending on what shows up, that sometimes presents itself. Yin Yang symbol is there because it's left and right brain. So we're linear and logical and rational and all that good stuff, grounded. But also we tap into the right brain with the emotional, the intuitive, color, the non-words, somatic, head, heart, and gut. Norms, just ways we behave with each other. Inhabiting your own experience, I ask people as much as possible to use I statements. We're all universes and worlds unto ourselves. So I might help you flip that. If you're doing you and generalization stuff, I'll invite you to I it, to turn it into I and own it. Please, if you need to leave, would you say goodbye? You don't need to say goodbye to the group, but if you just drop a little note to myself or to Pat, it's my experience with running the online groups, right, we wouldn't just leave an in-person group without saying goodbye. So I kind of, as the facilitator, I'm left wondering what's going on. You're certainly welcome to leave. You can come and go, but just drop me a little note in the chat privately or to all of us to just let me know, and especially if you're activated or something's going on, so that I can follow up. Now, talking about activation. So note your charges and your triggers. A lot of my work was shifted. There's very practical kind of strategic planning stuff, like figuring out your vision and getting tactical and doing steps to make that happen. But there's also a lot of being work. And in order to actualize those visions, some of what occurs is dealing with your stuff. So right now we're in highly activated times. And we started out with a pandemic. There's obviously racial sorting out and class stuff going on, and 2020 has all sorts of gifts for us. So when we come into the cohort, you may have some stuff that you're particularly working that might have charge or trigger to it. You can certainly bring that forward. I'm about to ask what are our agenda items. So that's certainly fair game if you have something that you want to work that you might have noticed that you're particularly charged and triggered about. As we get into it and we hear the agenda items, and as we find our way to working with whatever we work with, you may find yourself triggered by something I do or something that's going on in the group, and different things that are brought forth, because we're individuals from a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different consciousnesses. So I just really ask, and I would also direct use of some of the tools on the process page that are particularly around triggering. And I'm a big believer, as hard as it is, and we can't always do it in the now when we're triggered, because that's the nature of it. It happens very fast. But hopefully I can work with it here, and or I can direct you to the tools that really help with that, particularly orphan rescue and the polarity integration exercises are really great ones for identifying and working with your triggers. If we're not able to work with them and you are triggered or go off triggered, I would point you to those tools, again, on the page that Pat just posted the link to. And I think that's a quick and dirty for creating a container here and some ways of being with each other. And again, it's different every time. So I may need to add to that, tweak that, change that, whatever, depending on what happens here today. Well, how I think I'd like to handle it today is just quick hellos. We have a reasonable amount of people we can do that. So just a quick name, geography, and then anything you want to say about the process group, if it's your first time here or you've been here before, you keep coming back. And then I'm looking for agenda items. Is there something that you're bringing to the table that we can be helpful to you on? And depending on what that thing is, I may match it up with some sort of process tool and continue along and attempt to do that piece of work here. So I'll be taking a little sticky note here as we're checking in with each other and taking a note of possibilities, and then we'll find our way. And ideally, it might be one big piece of work for somebody, or we might be able to do several pieces of work here. We normally go for about 90 minutes or so, give or take what I need to properly close out whatever's happening. Okay, so I'll just leave it popcorn style, which means you can just unmute yourself, pop up in whatever order you care to, quick hello, geography, and then if there's anything that you're bringing to the table to work today.
Hi. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Pauline from Edmonton in Alberta. I'm just, really in this space of there's a little bit of celebration kind of feeling, but I don't know whether that's me or the universe speaking to me. But I feel that there's a piece around letting go in order to step forward. So that's kind of where I am at the moment. So what am I letting go of in order to step forward? And or what might be the blind spot that's holding me in that letting go.
Okay, great. I'll poke around that. I have all sorts of curiosities to ask things to flesh that out a little bit, but I'll hold off. I'll see what else emerges here. Thanks, Pauline.
I can go next. I'm Jody Melly. I'm from Lethbridge, Alberta, so just a little bit south of you, Pauline. So hello. I have recently retired from a long career in public service. So sort of in a space of discovery, what's next. Similar to you, Pauline, there's some things that I have to let go. But there's all sorts of things shifting and showing up right now, and it's sort of, I need to explore what that means and what might be some of the opportunities and what doors I need to step through. So I just, again, I find this group very supportive and whether it's work through me, but working through somebody else, just looking at the tools and what might be helpful for me. So I appreciate the opportunity and thanks everybody.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Jody.
Hi, I'm Doug, and I stumbled across this. I'm here in the San Francisco Bay Area, an hour south of San Francisco, and I stumbled across this website just doing a search on career coach, I think, in YouTube, and these videos came up. So it immediately struck me because of the process work. I've had training in process therapy at a place called the Process Therapy Institute here in the South Bay. But it's been a while. My passion is bringing spirit into the workplace and through mindfulness and other spiritual avenues. But I feel like I'm kind of a hands-on coach. I work in businesses. Anyway, I like processes. I like meditations that kind of follow a process. And so this was intriguing to me. What's intimidating is the drawing part of it, because that's not something that comes naturally to me. But I like kind of putting things out visually in terms of goals and blocks and things like that. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. I'm not sure if there's any particular issue other than maybe the drawing part. I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah. Well, you won't see me doing some super duper drawing because when I'm doing live process work, it's only so much I can do, but that should be actually very helpful for you to see, right? Just that.
I've seen some of you do. I've seen one video where you were really doing some drawing, so that was kind of fun.
At least there was one in there. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do it, but when we're doing this particular way, it's good enough
Right.
is good enough to be able to quickly meet that person where they're at. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Welcome, Doug. Great you're
Thank
here.
you.
Anybody else? Not necessary to check in, but if
I can
you
go next.
Yeah.
This is Joanna. My internet's in and out, so I have to keep clicking back and forth. Sorry about that. So I've Joanna from Indiana and attended some of these pop-ups, and I think where I'm at is I'm still fairly new and still we're skill building, but deciding, do I have enough skills to make a financial impact with this, especially with the COVID, to learn the digital and learn how to do it online? Is there money there, or is there not?
As for graphic recording, as a graphic recorder? Yeah, that's what she means by being
And
into
so,
it.
yeah. So I'm deciding, do I really hit it hard and invest and move forward in that, or do I go a different direction just to make a little money here? That's where I'm at.
Okay, great. Which reminds me too, I know you and I are going to do an individual session. Pat, can you plunk into the chat the link? You may have already done it. In addition to the process groups, I'm also doing some free recorded sessions with individuals. Keep that in mind too, because depending on what I encounter with people, it's nice to have that extra time just with one person to drill deep. So if you're okay with being recorded in that kind of work, there is an opportunity to do that as well. So, and I know we've got that lined up, Joanna, for you. Perfect. Okay, going once, going twice. Anybody else?
Michael Erickson here.
Hi, Michael.
Hi. So this is one of my partners, Gloria McCallum, did some training with you.
Mm.
And okay, so I'm from Boeing. I'm an Envisioneer at Boeing. So we do a whole lot of drawing in real time. We sit with technical people, they data dump, we draw, and we extract from their heads what they're thinking, and then what did they really mean? Because the picture behind the picture is always the big question. So it's a lot of what Christine does, but more technically oriented. However, people forget that in any big, okay, so Boeing is a big machine, right? Airplanes are complicated. Well, the factory that supports the airplane is infinitely more complicated, and it's filled with people. And a lot of times they don't see each other.
You are infinitely more complicated. Still.
Well, and yeah, so I've had to learn how to draw in more than three-dimensional space. I can actually draw in real time in 4 dimensions because I can do this cartoonist trick. It's called static animation, where it makes things look like they're moving, which blows engineers' minds because they're so used to seeing things as static steps. And I put it in motion and they can't, like, oh my goodness, what are you doing to me? So that's one thing. We do a lot of work with dynamic interaction of data and ideas and concepts. But then the people piece, the mental model piece, that's where it gets really interesting. That's kind of what Christine is working here. She's getting under the surface a bit. And I'm here to watch her do it and see how she does it, because I do it too, but I do it differently. And plus, I don't know, I kind of wanted to have an experience with her way of working, and I've watched the videos. So now this is my first crack
Well,
at getting
maybe
involved.
you be vulnerable instead of just watching, actually do some processing.
Well, I've already got, this much. So this is your setup. So, and I work in black and white mostly. I'm an inker.
No, I meant emotional processing. That's what the container's about, not just the note-taking, actually doing process work.
Here's the other side of the equation. My wife and I are both Reiki practitioners. So your connection with the Kundalini, well, I personally haven't had necessarily a Kundalini thing, but we do a lot of work with energy. And so I'm out giving Reiki to airplanes. I mean, literally. Which might seem a little weird, but the energetic dimension is where things...
Thank goodness somebody is.
I've been doing a lot of work on the MAX aircraft, just so you know. Both with my technical ability and the energetic ability. But consciousness moves energy, energy moves and informs matter, matter teaches, it's kind of a dynamic loop. And so I'm into that. So I understand it. And I'm using it in a technical space where it's really, really weird for these people. So I'm doing a lot of work with showing the motion and showing the energy in the system. Scary as hell, exciting, emergent. I totally trust dynamic emergence. So I'm kind of already there. I don't know that this, well, I've noticed a lot of you people draw flat, 2 dimensions. And I'm always want to pop out the back wall and see what's behind it. So we'll see where this leads. Sorry, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Cool, Michael. Nice to have you here. Michael's work is truly phenomenal.
Or maniacal, depending on your perspective.
Could be that too. Yeah, yeah. Awesome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jude. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, soon to be retired as a business professor. I retire on July 4th. So, and I guess I've been coming to quite a few of these, and one of the things I've been wrestling with lately is, doing a lot of reading and having conversations about how to develop anti-racist educational institutions and teaching practices. And I'm feeling a real kind of deep sense of shame about being white and being in this culture. And also another layer that's come up the last maybe 2 weeks or so is the role that capitalism has played and is playing in marginalizing and dehumanizing people of color, indigenous, folks. And I got into teaching business, not because I really like capitalism, but because I was trying to bring more kindness and compassion into the business world. And now I'm kind of dealing with the shame and the disappointment about the role that capitalism has also played and how I've benefited, you know, from capitalistic systems. And so that's some of the stuff that I'm wrestling with right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Jude. Yeah.
This is Hannah. I, no surprise, resonate with what everybody's shared so far. And I just popped on the video just to connect with you visually in terms of my face and whatnot, but since I'm doing this in the background, it's not related to this call, but I do live graphic recording facilitation process work. And so one of the inquiries I'm in is loving doing it in person and really missing that as we're all staying home and whatnot. And also wondering from a business point of view, I have done some digital stuff and have dabbled in it, but my strong preference is to do the in-person analog stuff, getting my hands dirty, like in the ink and all that. So so my own personal stuff about missing that, but from a business point of view too, what does it look like going forward? And so definitely in that inquiry now. Some clients are talking about Q3, Q4. Some are not doing any in-person stuff at all yet, or they want to, but they're not actually confirming dates. So I'm interested in having that conversation, and that's on my mind. And I'm also, to Michael's point about the energy work, and that's important. I feel important part of the in-person thing that is just missing from virtual, and we can do it, but it's so much more impactful in person when our energy fields are overlapping. And so that aspect of it, as well as integrating into all the work that we're all doing. So I know that I'm doing that with my murals and with my paintings as well too, in terms of general energy principles, as well as thinking about things like anti-racism work. And that's really striking me specifically acutely now, of course, with everything that's going on, as well as diving into that more deeply myself in terms of how to be, I've always been a quiet ally, but how to be a more impactful ally and more active, both personally as well as professionally, how I can do that. And so actually doing that inquiry, as well as deep diving into some things, like there are some courses that I'm putting myself through, like there's a good one I've just started called Me and White Supremacy, which is a 28-day inquiry into it. And so it's some deep stuff is sort of coming up that you don't, like, it's just unconscious, right? So that's going on in general with all of us, with a lot of things, health-wise, race-wise, all these, economy, etc. So I'm really excited to be in this group, and done a lot of work with Christina over the years, and I'm so honored to continue to do that. And thank you for these containers, Christina.
You're welcome, Hannah. Thanks for coming. Nice to see you. Okay, that's who we are today, this moment. I'm feeling a pull in multiple places, but I think where I want to start, Jude, is with yourself. And with the shame, with being white and with capitalism. And my feel is probably, and you tell me if this feels right for you, to do an inquiry, to start with inquiry and see what unfolds. You've been attending these quite regularly, so it'd be nice to hold space for you. And what do you think about that approach?
I feel okay with the approach. Part of what I'm dealing with right now is this is the first time there's been 2 white guys in the room. And having been teaching in a business school where it's been very male dominated, and so I'm feeling some fear about diving into that, and I don't know Doug or Michael, so so I guess I feel an extra layer of vulnerability.
Can I offer some ballast? So I totally get what you say about the shame. Okay. I didn't know about black people for a long time. I'm originally from Alaska. And my father's problem was Japanese because he was at the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and I grew up with Native people, Aleuts and Inuits. So I came to the discovery of this slowly, what the experience was. I've been doing a lot of work with something called mental models and cultural mental models, and what is civilization. And what's interesting is the question behind the question is, if we treat racism as the problem, we're actually missing what's driving behind it. There's a connection between racism and the economy and the capitalism, the machine that was created, and the values that drive it. The value of the money that's the last value standing. When I used to work in nursing homes, I watched people die. I held their hands. And I watched.
Michael, I'm just going to time you out for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry. The thing is, be safe. You're okay. We're here for you.
Well, that's for her to decide. And we'll just check in with Jude to see. Part of what you were doing would be holding space for you to do your particular inquiry around what those words mean and what the reactions is, and etc. So let me just go back to Jude and just see what unfolds for her, given what just unfolded there. And I'm gonna, we did a little tapping in previous sessions, and I'm just realizing I want to tap myself. So, various ways you can do it, but here's a quick and dirty way. Some of you might have lots of different modes. So cup in the hand, and on either side, you don't have to do this. Those of you who've been through this before, but this is a way that can help process things somatically in the body. We've got 3 brains: head, heart, normally just a little touching of the fingers around the heart area, and then gut. And bringing those 3 systems on. Michael talking about mental models, we're up here. Valid, totally great part of being a human being. And we've got the heart, and we've got the instinctual as well. Just bringing in the full body there. And talking about triggering, there's various things that happen there that I could take note of, that I would go and do my work on with polarity squares and with orphan rescue. And it's not my process, so I'm just zeroing in on you, Jude. So I'm just going to go back to you. Another way to do this is bilateral, either side of the body. Anybody who's into EMDR will recognize the bilateral. These are butterfly hugs. We can do them exaggerated or really light, and help to bring the right and the left brain together and help to integrate and flow things through. You certainly don't have to respond, Jude, but back to you.
Well, part of the challenge and the risk for me as a white lesbian feminist person is speaking truth to power, and to, so part of what I'm struggling with is the inherent power of white men in patriarchy. And so part of what I just experienced was kind of the hijacking of my own personal story by a white man that I don't know. And so I think it might be helpful for me to process this and to trust you and the rest of this group to hold the space for that. And I'm willing to do that, to be courageous. It's a different layer, though, than I was expecting.
Yeah, we just went Zoom somewhere else. So if you're okay to Zoom to the somewhere else. And
it's all connected, it's really all connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Michael, and maybe Doug as well, and anybody else going on, I would, just as I do try to hold space here with Jude, I would ask you to the best of your ability to be able to just join in the holding the space, knowing that there might be concurrently things happening and flashing at the same time. You can take note of that however it's going on, right? You might feel things personally or feel that it's directed to you. It may or may not be. I'll swing back to you maybe at various points, but definitely afterwards, and I'll check in with you as well. And we may have to do some processing there and see what unfolds here. But Jude, I think that's super courageous and ironic and also right on point, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so I still think inquiry. So you're already off and doing it. I'm just going to invite you and all of us to breathe, tap, do your best to maintain your presence. And we're going to go into, Jude, into you and your consciousness and what's most up for you. So as we zero in at this moment in time, taking a couple of breaths, doing your best. You don't have to be centered, but if there's any way to bring an awareness, a witness, a centering to it, just notice what's there. And it's okay if it's the opposite of centering or awareness. We just start with what is. So what do you notice? And there might be multiple layers. I'll take whichever one you want to give first and we'll begin.
Well, the first thing I noticed is that I reached for and picked up a stone that I have as a talking piece that helps to ground me.
Nice.
And it says compassion.
Mm.
And so as I enter this process to have compassion for myself, for the white folks in the group, for the men, the women, those that have a different gender expression than myself.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So to the stone, to the compassion on the stone, you are welcome here. Yes, 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 to the stone and its message and the connections to self, to white folks, to men, to women, to different gender expressions. You are welcome here. And as you're meeting that, just seeing what unfolds from here. We don't want to rush it, but if there is something that unfolds, just noticing that.
So one thing I'm noticing is tears coming out of my eyes, so I'm grabbing some Kleenex here.
Yeah. So tears, you are welcome here.
And I think for me, the tears represent holding how I've been holding for my 62 years of life, the woundedness of our nation. I live in the US. And the awareness that even though the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964, we haven't learned very much. We haven't grown very much. We haven't changed as humans. So that's part of my tears, is for how much work has been left undone.
So I'm seeing two here. Well, Pat, can you let Joanna back in, please? Yeah, she got bopped off. First off, the tears, so we want to start there. Tears, you're welcome here. And then I think what happened was the mind came in and went to historical and the woundedness of the nation and the US and 1964 and comparison and haven't grown much, that analysis ability. So we want to welcome that too. So welcoming the tears and then the mind working with the summation of what it thinks. That's what minds do. That's about. Just meeting it. Yes, yes, yes. There's a little of that's right. We don't like that with the woundedness and the haven't grown much. So an aspect in there that's analyzing that and not liking that and just agreeing with that. You're right. Not much to like there. You're right.
And another layer of the tears is how I have been invisible as a white lesbian woman. Who has a lot of privilege.
So we'll welcome invisible first. Invisible as a white lesbian woman. You're welcome here, invisibility, and the pain of that. And then I think again, it might be the mind and the analyzing. Again, wonderful thing that minds do, and seeing the privilege. So kind of a yeah but popped out, right? As you tapped into that invisibility and that understandable hurt and trauma. But then the yeah but of, and I also have privilege, so yes and at the same time. So welcoming all of that, Jude. The yes and of it all. No rush. Spend as much time as you need to. If something does unfold, just let us know what unfolds from here. Doing beautifully. Thank you.
And this is the place where the heart of the shame is. That I've experienced discrimination, exclusion, sexual harassment, not having my voice being heard. And I still have a lot of privilege.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, and.
Because I'm educated and I've had a job since I was 14 years old.
So let's just slow down and be sure to welcome it step by step. The heart of it. Here's the heart of the shame. So welcoming that. You're welcome here, heart of shame. Thank you for showing up. Because you've experienced discrimination, exclusion, sexual harassment yourself. and especially the voice not being heard. And still there's the privilege with the education and being employed since 14, that long career track that you've had, academia even. Yeah, yes, and. Just take your time. It's very tender stuff. Take your time.
Kind of connected to the shame and the tears is the how I've been holding my own woundedness and feeling like I'm carrying the woundedness of the world too, and the responsibility to heal myself because that will help to heal the world.
Welcoming that. Holding your own woundedness, and then the link emerges between the individual and the world, the collective. And what happens as you make that shift to the world, from your own woundedness to the world? Something happened there. If that was my dream, that would be overwhelm or exhaustion. What is it for you when you shift from the holding that and that link to that world?
It's like I don't know what to do. So that is kind of the overwhelm. It's like I don't know how to help.
Okay, just be with that. Be with that overwhelm and the not knowing. Wanting to help, not knowing how, it being too big. Overwhelm, you are welcome here. Not knowing, you are welcome here. The confusion around one's own woundedness versus the macro woundedness. The heart wanting to help. And then overwhelm kicks in.
And then there's this, yeah, but I have intellect and a gift with words. I can see patterns of harm. And I can use those skills to help others see and break through and dismantle those patterns of harm.
Okay, thank you. So thanking that mind again, who can analyze things and then is popping up and saying, wait a second here, I'm on the job. I can actually see patterns of harm here. I have an intellect. I am on the job, says mind. I can see it can help dismantle. So we want to really bow and welcome that sweet part, the heart of the mind, right? The mind has a heart, the intellect has a heart, big one. And it wants to use its intellectual ability with the patterns, being able to spot those patterns to be able to help see and dismantle. Let's really honor and welcome and commend that heart of that mind. See what happens as you beam love to it and you recognize its inherent love. Sometimes the intellect gets a bad rap.
And what's coming up for me is, and I'm tired of being invisible.
Yeah. Agree with that. You're right. Invisibility sucks. Being tired of that, I agree. I'm wondering about that invisibility and where that lies. I'm feeling something like contraction and then expansion, something wanting to expand. If you can find that place that of consciousness that has been thwarted or cramped, invisible, I might not have the right words, so help me with it, but just feel this kind of pushed down or suppressed, hidden. If we can invite that to unlock itself, uncontract itself, and unfurl, see what happens as you put that invitation that, you know, you don't need to stay there anymore. You can be visible. See what happens.
And part of the expansion for me is that this is why I'm retiring.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the intellect is liking it. It's like, oh, right, good. This fits in with our retirement plans.
I'm choosing to be seen.
Ah, very good. Okay, expansion. So let's bow to that. The connection, the neural link to the retiring, that's connected with expansion actually, and that you're choosing to be seen. Choosing to be seen, you are welcome here. Retirement as a expansion, you are welcome here. Just see what unfolds as you welcome that.
I'm not really as alone as I thought I was.
Mm.
Even on Zoom.
Yep. So let's bow to that aha that just popped out there. Hey, what do you know? I'm not as alone as I thought I was. That recognition is welcome. Just see what happens as you meet that.
And what's kind of emerging for me is the question of, how have I not seen myself? How have I been invisible to myself?
An inquiry. And so let's bow to that. I think that might be a inquiry bit for you. So that'll be your piece to work from here, is to contemplate how I've been invisible to myself. But let me just check. Let me go back to your consciousness to see, in this space holding we're doing right now, is there anything else it wants to say? Or is that, am I reading it right? Is it directing, hey, go do this piece of work. Go look at how I've been invisible to myself.
I guess there's one other kind of gift of this is not just recognizing in my head, but also in my heart, that there's a connection between my trauma and the organizational trauma that's created by white supremacist culture.
Okay.
That there's a connection for me.
Okay, goosebumps all over my head. Okay, connection to my trauma and organizational trauma. Did I sum that up?
Mm-hmm.
So bow to that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This inquiry, how have I been invisible to myself and my own connections, my own trauma overlay to the organizational trauma overlay. Big ahas, big stuff to sit with and unfold and explore as you move into retirement. Here's your work. See if there's anything further as we conclude, knowing this is your consciousness, so you connect with it from here on in yourself. You totally have that ability. It's a pleasure and honor to hold the space for you to interact with your consciousness, but see if there's anything else that wants to come out at this point in time, or is that a wrap from its point of view?
Keep holding the rock of compassion.
Nice, nice, nice. So kind of circles all the way back here to the rock. So bowing to that wisdom, and how great that you've got a rock of compassion that's easy and portable. You can keep on you, yeah, in the home, outside of the home. It's going to continue to be a touchstone for you and a resource and an ally. And that's another thing you're working is coming back to compassion as the triggering, etc. happens. And what great work and service. Let's all do a little bow to the consciousness that's unfolded here that we've been able to witness through our colleague Jude. And Jude, as we're segueing you to kind of beta normal consciousness, maybe even popping out from this, seeing if there's anything from that space, anything else that wants to be said before we close it. And then as you come into your now consciousness, witness consciousness of all of this, anything it wants to say.
I see you.
Nice. Talking about visibility, I see you. Welcoming that, yes, 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 bowing to I see you.
Could you draw some glasses?
Certainly.
Eyeglasses, you know?
Yes. Michael could do them much better with multiple D's, but there's my flat drawing for you. The map is not the territory.
They actually kind of look like mine too, so.
I have seen you wearing, yeah. Thank you. Beautiful. Well, yes, perfect. I see you. To visibility, from invisible to visible. Thank you, Jude.
Thank you.
Just want to take a moment as we're segueing from Jude's piece of work, beautiful work, honor to witness. Anything that's unfolding, I'm aware of the interaction that happened with Michael that preceded this, so I'm aware of Michael, so I want to touch in with Michael. Also aware of Doug, because of what was brought up about males. And then I'm conscious of the rest of you too. So let's just see what unfolds here. Anybody want to say anything? I haven't looked at chat as this has been unfolding, so I imagine there's been different things occurring there.
I just want to say thank you, Jude, for your vulnerability and your courage. It inspires and gives us all an opportunity to see our part in this. So thank you for the dual processing.
Michael or Doug, anything that we can do inquiry on the other side of it, if anything was triggered for you or anything you want to say from the beginning part of this that led into Jude's work about visibility and invisibility and with the male privilege.
So it took me a minute to find the unmute mute button.
Mm-hmm.
So I got 3 pages of notes. And I took myself off the screen so I wouldn't be looking at her. I mean, so she wouldn't see me, you know, so I wouldn't impact her. I hope that helped, or tried to help. That way you'll know that I was serious in terms of not just welcome, but recognition, and I see you too. Thank you for talking.
Anybody else? And then I'll see if I might talk Michael into doing a little inquiry.
I just wanted to thank Jude again too, because that was just really good. Starting off with that compassion, the compassion rock, and then what she was saying about it. There's things that for me were there and all throughout the whole process, but that was the first thing that just really hit me, really on target, and trying to learn things and more compassion. And some of the things that I've said or do sometimes that without any intention at all, that might have hurt somebody's feelings, you know, learning different pronouns or way of speaking and stuff. It's just, you know, we're all here together. And Jude, you've never been invisible to me, but I get what you're saying. I do understand it. And this has just been great. Thank you.
I didn't, Pat didn't check in, but Pat's my assistant. For anybody who isn't aware, she's helping hold container here, but each time she comes, she's working too. So pleasure to have you here. Thank you, Pat. Michael, would you be up to doing your own side of the inquiry? It doesn't have to be the interaction that happened here, but we could just start with wherever your consciousness is. It just seems it would be interesting to have 2 sides of the coin.
So I always tend to see things from the biggest possible perspective, which has me saying, okay, so here we are in this world, and it seems like it's a mad world. And I'm a child of violence, so I know exactly what Jude was talking about in terms of, say, being pounded into the ground many times. One thing that a lot of people don't understand about at least American white culture, male culture, is that we are conditioned rather heavily to stand for something, to step up to something, and to, I think that's the source of the police overreaction that you saw in the death of, I've forgotten his name because there's been so many people taken down since then. But in any case, among the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life was when I was young and I tried to be the responsible one and stepped up and stood for something and got into altercations and then realized what an ass I was. Thankfully, I had the sense to recognize it at the time. And that's where shame for me would come, to say, okay, so you did what was expected of you and it backfired, and why were you not smart enough to have anticipated that? So I've had a lot of stepping away from whatever the standard issue male behavior actions have been for the bulk of my life. So I'm not in any particularly alarmed state about what I was trying to say earlier is I can connect with the shame because, yeah, here we are, white people in this place, and we're supposedly, I'm really questioning whether what we call privilege is actual privilege. I'm kind of wondering if it isn't basic human rights for all people, you know, like the right to food, the right to housing, the right to education, the right to occupy the space you're in. We were born on this planet, for Pete's sake. Everybody should have a place. So when people don't have a place, I find that particularly offensive, and I think this thing we laughingly call civilization, that put us in this place where we're pitted against each other and we're divided up and choosing up sides and, not just race or gender. One of the things I really like about, I have a number of gay friends, and I work at the Boeing company, so we have this hugely global culture at Boeing. I mean, I've got people within arm's reach of me who are anything, everywhere, from India, from Australia, from Antarctica. Well, not quite, there's not people in Antarctica, but, I got native people from, so I've had to, and I've got a lot of gay friends. And the thing I really like about my gay friends is that they've had to face themselves. They know themselves far more than a lot of us standard issue humans do, because they've had to look their monsters in the eye. And I've always, there was a systems architect that I got to know.
I'm going to slow you down. So we're doing inquiry. So I really bow.
Oh, free association kind of is my thing. Sorry.
Yeah, no sorry about it. So I'm just going to slow it down because I want to go to everything that's already showed up. And we want to start step by step here. So the first thing I want to go to was your recognition of biggest possible perspective. Yeah. So you're really that big picture perspective. And the whole thing with Inquire, there's different ways to do it, Michael. I know you're trained in all sorts of different various things, Reiki and other things as well. And all we want to do is just slow down and just go there first. And let's bow to that aspect of you that's really good at that biggest possible perspective, that has a tendency to zoom, go there. I mean, you're so positioned with the work and everything you do, right? That
was an accident.
You're not, well, maybe, right? Maybe, but isn't it interesting? Somebody who has the biggest possible perspective does what we do in our shared joint perspective. So I want to just first off acknowledge that, showing up on the scene and welcome it. Yes, 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 to biggest possible perspective. The next thing that you went to was the child of violence. That's a big one. So before we rush away from that, I just want to bow and welcome being the child of violence.
That was learning. That was actually a good thing. It was a hard thing, but it was a good thing.
So we're going to bow to that, to the mind. We're going to bow to that mind and that left brain and that analysis.
Well, I wouldn't say analysis. I would say feel.
Good. Good.
Gut,
Let's do both.
Visceral.
Let's do both. Good.
You discover. So I used to ice climb, and I did this to face my monsters, and I fell off a cliff. Fell 25 feet free fall, and it was scary, but it was good. It taught me how to climb so much better, and that's an analogy for the rest of my existence. Having survived violence required me to look my monsters in the eye and not be afraid of them. I mean, the difference between being beaten into unconsciousness and being beaten into death is about that much. Mm-hmm. You get to come back in one case and not the others. So I crawled out of the tunnel a few times. Now I know what it's like. I'm not afraid of it anymore. Now I can look it in the eye.
Okay, so we'll just, again, profound what's being shared. So let's just slow it down. And we want to go to the gut and the feel and the learning. There's even a appreciation in a way of the violence of what it has created in you in terms of the learning. So we want to just acknowledge that.
It makes the desire to change the world in concert with what Jude described really strong.
Okay, good. That's another wing that comes out here, is change the world. Hold on, because there's more we want to go back and acknowledge and see. I really want to give space for this beaten into unconsciousness.
Yeah, it's a scary story, but it's a real one.
Yeah, so let's welcome. You don't have to tell the whole story.
Oh, I don't intend to. I don't need to.
But what I want to do is welcome that little boy. I'm so sorry, Michael, who was beaten into unconsciousness. And it sounds like multiple times. And that wisdom, like you said, was so profound between the beaten into consciousness. I think it might have been the dying, right? The line between those, and your felt knowledge of that because of what you have been through, what that younger you has been through. oh my goodness, I'm going to bow to that.
Gives context.
Yes, I'm bowing to him. I'm bowing to that.
It means when
Gets the context.
When I watched the man die on the TV, the black
Mm.
man, I could feel it.
Okay, let's bow to that. And as you said, very many, unfortunately, but I think you're referencing George Floyd.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yes. So we're going to acknowledge George Floyd's death and you watching that on TV and that visceral reaction that was made to that little boy, you, who intimately knows the connection between violence and death and how close that is.
What's interesting, though, is not the going out, it's the coming back.
Okay.
Going out is easy. Big shock waves, you're through it. Coming back is slow. It takes a lot of time, and that's where you process it all. And that's when the fear comes.
Wow.
So looking that in the eye, when you realize where you've been, and oh my goodness, that was a near miss. I tell you what, Mount Rainier taught me a lot about that, and getting near misses with avalanche and rockfall and crevasse. That's where the ice climbing helped me put it all in perspective, because the mountain doesn't care, but the mountain is magic, and you got to kind of stand in both places at once.
Wow. Let's get that down. Stand in both places at once.
Yeah.
Again, let's slow it down because everything you're saying is so damn profound. So stand in both places at once.
I'm sorry.
No, nothing to be sorry about. This is
well, I didn't want to take this
all
over.
Inquiry is time for your inquiry. So just like we were being present, so now we're going to slow it down. Let's go into the going out and the coming back. The going out is easy. It's the coming back that's hard. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's easy. That's just boom. OBE, gone.
Yep.
But the coming back to earth and everything that it is and the violence and what you have to deal with, that's the hard and that's the fear.
The senses come online one at a time. It's really weird.
Okay, there's some information. Senses back online. They go out one at a time and they
go out all at once. They come back one at a time.
Okay, senses back one at a time. So let's bow to that part of you that understands this, that could say so quickly, oh no, it's all at once as they go out, and it's one by one as they come back. So bowing to that wisdom in you that knows this stuff. And then we go to Mount Rainier. Now we go to your affinity with the mountain.
That was a safe place.
It
was safer than people for a long time.
Makes sense. So let's bow to that coping mechanism of finding a safe place. How brilliant
not just a coping mechanism, it was a teacher.
Very good.
The big ice is just like like I said, it doesn't care, but it'll teach you so much if you just listen.
Wow.
Pauline, I'll see you later. Thank you.
Bye, Pauline. Okay. So safe place, ice, the big ice as a teacher.
Ice.
Love it. Love it. And it teaches you so much if you just listen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are welcome here.
So that anchors you in Mother Earth and
that anchors me?
Well, anchors us all. I mean, anchors me.
Anchors me in Mother Earth. Very good.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, the mountain is part of Mother Earth after all. Part of the whole system that operates.
Good. So there's that big picture. Yeah.
The causal loop, the big dynamic.
Okay, let's see. Causal loop. The big dynamic. Great.
Yeah. But the civilization that it supports is like almost, I don't know. Everybody's feeling the weight of it. But some are being killed for it, and that's got to stop. And it can't just stop. It's got to be reforged. We've got to see through it, see to the other side. The question behind the question is, who are we together? That means all of you in the room here.
All of us. So everyone feeling the weight of it, some are killed, that has to stop. And then it led to?
We're all, it affects us all. And so we all have to change it together. Basically what the Black Lives Matter people have been saying, you know, the white community has to shift their thinking drastically, etc.
Okay, let's bow to all that. So let's take it step by step. So Mount Rainier sprung to Mother Earth. So let's bow to, we bow and acknowledge Mother Earth. Wow. And that anchoring of you in Mother Earth. And then boom, boom, it went up to causal loop, and boom, boom, the big dynamic, right?
Sorry
so,
to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm appreciating it, and I'm following the consciousness, and we're bowing to its magnificent boom, 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 to that big possible perspective. There it is, the dynamic loop. And then we went into, and everybody's feeling the weight of it, and some are getting killed, and that has to stop. It affects us all, and we need to change it together. So we're going to yes, yes, yes to that.
So the change in the community or in the civilization is, how do we build a civilization where there's a place for everyone?
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
That's where this is all focusing on.
How to build a civilization so there's a place for everyone.
Underline the word civil.
Let's bow to that.
Which means Jude should not have to be afraid of me because I'm white male, because I shouldn't be a threat to her. And there must be a way that that can happen. Absolutely must be a way.
Wouldn't it be nice if we'll take out all the shoulds, the she's, and Jude, if there's triggering, we'll work with that. Good. But bowing to the wisdom that's emerging of how do we build a civilization, underline on civil, so there's a place for everyone. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. Bowing to that. Okay, check with your consciousness, because there may be more that will unfold here undoubtedly, but just see what does it want on this map? What does it want me to, any final things? I don't want to leave it on the table if there's something I should ask. So anything else, Michael's consciousness here that wants to emerge from here? Yes, yes, yes.
What actions are next? Not from you, but from what's my part?
Okay, good. Good. So thanking it for that. So now we're moving on that process page. I have an action plan, because sometimes that's what happens with our consciousness. We naturally unfold into actions. So that would be, you're an inquiry about what is my part? What are my actions? Beautiful. Hi, kitty cat.
Yeah, this is a wild child.
Hello, wild child. Yeah. You are welcome here. Okay, just check. Anything else that wants to come out?
No.
No, that was a beautiful, beautiful way to complete it, moving into the world of action and steps, and particularly one's own individual action plan. Okay, thank you, Michael. So 2 pieces of process work. You can see it's fast and furious when I'm working, and I just opted to work with the black pencil here. So I'll do some coloring and highlighting and titling and stuff. Michael, great, got yours. I totally, if you want to send those, I would happily post them up with the video as well if you want to do that. So just know, folks, that I will do what I usually do with the visual side of this. So more coming on that. And as we step back, it's different every time. So this is what it was July 2nd. So I want to thank Jude and Michael for their pieces of work today. And then I want to open it up for container holders, anybody who wants to say anything at this point of time. Let's just do a quick closeout. each person at least just a one-word checkout, or if there's anything else you'd like to say, please go right ahead. Whoever wants to start.
I just want to thank both Jude and Michael for their participation, and so appreciate your perspectives and your courage and all of the work that you've done here today. It's been enlightening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you for coming.
I second that, for Christina and Pat for holding the container for us, and Michael and Jude for being willing and vulnerable for all of us. I know I was doing my own versions of all of that as you were speaking of it, and I learned a lot as well from all of you, from watching Christina work, from just feeling the work through me and work me, as well as watching and feeling you do your own work. So thank you all.
Thank you, Hannah. Yeah.
I want to say thank you. I feel grateful to be able to witness that, and helpful too. It feels like I'm learning, and I feel appreciative to be able to come here and grow, expand my horizons, I guess is the way to say it. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming, Doug. Welcome.
I appreciate continually being able to watch you help others process and learn from how you're able to hold space and talk and listen and draw. And then I really appreciate thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Joanna. A little choppy at the end, but I think we get the gist. Appreciations. Thanks for coming. Get everybody? Michael, any final?
I think I said
words, Jude?
way too much.
Yeah, okay. You feel complete in your expression? Okay. Yeah.
No, there's always more to say. I mean, I can run amok, but I know this white male thing is a pain in the neck to have to deal with. I mean, okay, Jude was saying, hey, there's these guys here. And yeah, okay, I always kind of wonder. When I meet Black people, I always wonder, who's being triggered? Are they being triggered, or am I triggering them, or are they going to try and trigger me? Usually I'm triggering them, and it's like, I don't like that. I would dearly love to solve that. So I don't like triggering people. I want you to be okay, if I show up. I'm not, anyway.
Yeah. So that inquiry continues.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for coming.
One of the things for me is really resonated when Michael mentioned being a child of violence, and how being able to find that connection. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's an entry point for compassion. Mm-hmm. And for me to be able to see you, Michael, not just as a white man, but as someone who also is carrying woundedness and trying to heal yourself and help heal the world. So this is, I think, part of the path toward healing for all of us, is to seeing that connection. So thanks, Michael, for hanging in there.
Thank you, Jude.
Thank you, Christina.
Pat, anything you want to say to close out?
There's so much on my mind. I mean, it's just trying to catch something. I guess what I was going to say, originally I thought if I say something, I woke up this morning feeling raw, just raw. I have, sorry, now I might cry. I lost my mother on Memorial Day in May. So I think that's why I was raw. And then I thought, later as the day went on, I felt better. I thought, you know what? The processing group's coming up, and I'm going to be able to handle that. And I just knew, because every time Christina's so intuitive, if you don't even say anything, sometimes she pulls it out of you. It's like a dentist with the tooth thing. It's both of these inquiries were just really touching, and sometimes y'all say things that I didn't even know I had deep down inside me, and it's really just been impactful. Both Jude and Michael, and my wish is that we have. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just look at anybody and never assume they're bad or a certain way, and that they aren't, wouldn't it be nice if everybody was great and responsible and caring and just accepting of each other? We're all beautiful. It's just, humanity. We have it within us to be and to do these things. I would like to see that come about, and these meetings, getting to see people during this COVID stuff, and it's just been so enlightening for me, because I'm surrounded. I get to get different cultures and different aspects of people's thoughts and stuff. I'm not just in the Bible Belt down here. I get to hear and see everybody's perspectives, and so this has been a blessing. Today was amazing. Thank you two, for sharing.
Thank you, Pat. It's a blessing to have you supporting me all these years. Pat and I have never met. She's been a virtual assistant for me for over a decade, and one of the closest people in my life. So going through experiences like this. So thank you so much, Pat. And it is raw.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, that's who we are today. So these happen usually about a week or 10 days or so. So I'll take a look at the calendar. I'll sort out when the next one is. Pat will do her magic with turning around the videos and the maps and stuff. You'll get an email since you're on our confirmed list, and you'll also get notified when the next ones are. It's drop-in, so come as you like, come as you are, and we just co-create together whatever wants to emerge at that point in time, and that's what happened today. My honor. Thank you very much. I appreciate this so much. Take good care, and bye for now.